Call this meeting of the Osawatomie City Council on December 11th, 2025 at 6 p.m. here at Memorial Hall. Madam Clerk, with your roll call.
Councilmember Shasteen.
Here.
Councilmember Mazik.
Here.
Councilmember Dean.
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson. Absent. Councilmember Hennis.
Here.
Councilmember Bratton.
Here.
Councilmember Sullivan. Here. Councilmember Caldwell. Here.
Here. If you will stand for pledge of allegiance and remain standing for invocation. Amazing allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening to you all. It's a privilege to be here this evening. I used to sit in the chair over there where Dean is there. I sat there for 13 years. Looking through this list of things, I thought we'd solved all those things in 13 years, but we're still here. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for this day and this time together. We thank you for the opportunity that we have as leaders of this community. We ask your blessing upon us this evening as we have gathered here to discuss these matters, take the actions necessary. And we ask, gracious God, that you fill our hearts with an overwhelming sense of your presence, that we might indeed make this a city to your glory. Make decisions to your glory. And just be your people in this beautiful city. We thank you for this time and for the abilities you have given us. When we leave this place, let us go remembering what we've done here, remembering what we have yet to do here, and counting the blessings that you have given to us for letting us be here and then let us leave here, that we might live our lives always to your glory. Amen. I was just thinking a moment ago, if you have a pretty full agenda, but on your way home tonight, I would invite you all to drive down the alley behind my house. There's a project there for you. You can create beginnings of a new fishing pond in that alley. Right now, it's about 12 feet long, as wide as the alley. I'm not sure how deep it is, but I'm not going to wade in it to see. But if you want a real good experience, drive down the alley behind my house and look at the new fishing pond that we have there. And one of the things that we did in the 13 years that I served on this council, one of the good things that we did is we hired Greg Manning as city manager. That was a good thing. He didn't attack us for it. I remember the night that we came for his interview, and when he walked in the door, we just decided then, he's our guy. And we have him now, he's our guy. Good evening and have a good meeting.
Thanks, Ted. You too. All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. Consent agenda items be acted upon one motion unless the council member requests an item be removed for discussion and separate action.
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Shasteen and a second by Councilman Mason to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Shasteen.
Aye.
Councilmember Mazik.
Aye.
Councilmember Dean.
Aye.
Councilmember Hennis.
Aye.
Councilmember Brett.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilton. Aye. Councilmember Caldwell.
Motion carried. We move on to comments from the public. Citizen participation will be limited to 5 minutes. Please stand and be recognized if you have a comment.
My name is Pauline Score, I'm Deacon Score's wife. This is an open letter to the Osawatomie City Council to be published online and included in communication with proper state authorities. Council members, I'm here tonight to address a serious issue that places the city of Osawatomie at legal and ethical risk. It has come to light that our city manager has selectively refused to allow certain qualified contractors to work for the city not based on performance, safety, or compliance issues, but on personal dislike of the contractor or their family. This behavior violates multiple Kansas statutes, which will be posted online, and also is under federal liability for violating equal protection and due process standards by arbitrarily discriminating against private citizens. Let me be clear. Once a governing body becomes aware of unlawful conduct by an appointed official, it has a legal obligation to correct it. If the city council fails to act and fails to intervene or fails to direct the city manager to immediately cease discriminatory contracting practices, the council itself becomes complicit. By remaining silent, the governing body knowingly permits continued violations of Kansas law, city procurement policy, and constitutional protections. The liability then shifts from the individual misconduct to the institutional misconduct, and that exposes every elected official to public accountability and potential legal consequences. I'm asking the council tonight to initiate a formal review of the city manager's contracting decisions, require written objective procurement criteria for all city projects, prohibit the use of personal bias or retaliation in the contractor selection, and ensure all future contracting decisions are transparent, documented, and compliant with Kansas law. Your silence is not neutrality, it's approval. Your inaction is not oversight, it's complicity. I respectfully call on this council to fulfill its duty to the residents of Osawatomie and immediately address and correct the city manager's misconduct. Thanks. To the city manager, I am addressing you directly because your conduct in managing city contracts has crossed legal and ethical boundaries. You have knowingly excluded certain contractors from performing work in the city of Osawatomie not because of qualifications, safety concerns, pricing, or performance issues, but because of personal dislikes of them or their families. This behavior is not discretion, it's discrimination, and it's illegal. Under Kansas law, you are prohibited from using your position to influence contracting decisions for personal reasons. It is unlawful for a public official to misuse their authority in a way that gives unfair disadvantages to private citizens. Your actions also violate civil rights protections, which prohibit arbitrary and retaliatory treatment by government officials. You hold significant authority, but that authority is bound by law, not by personal preference. When you create a blacklist, act out of retaliation, or manipulate contracting opportunities based on who you do or do not like, you expose yourself and the city to serious legal consequences. I am formally notifying you that your conduct has been documented, and if it continues, the next step will involve state-level oversight, ethics review, and legal action. Your role is to serve the entire community, not select individuals that you approve of. Your authority is not ownership. Your position is not personal power. You are expected and required to correct this behavior immediately. Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, we move on to public hearing. Item A, 2025 CDBG closeout.
Thank you, Mayor. Brett Wagner, the grant administrator, couldn't be here tonight due to a death in the family, so I'm here to fill in on his behalf. One of the last requirements prior to closing out a CDBG grant is to always have a closeout hearing, and that is this public hearing tonight. So once the hearing is concluded, we'll go through our normal hearing procedure that's required by state law. Ask for public comment 3 times. If there is no public comment, we'll close the public hearing. And then there will be a motion to accept the closeout packet that's in your city council packet and authorize the mayor to execute those documents. Once that's concluded, the grant administrator will take care of the balance of the closeout items, and then we will be eligible to receive CDBG dollars again once this grant is closed out. So with that, I would encourage you to open the public hearing.
We'll open the public hearing at 6:11 PM on the 2025 CDBG closeout. Any public comment on the CDBG closeout? I'll ask again a second time if there's any public comment on CDBG grant to close out. Third and final time for public comment. Close the hearing, public hearing at 6:12 PM on the CDBG closeout. Move on to item B, public hearing for 2025 budget amendment.
I would have a motion to accept the closeout documents in between.
Mayor, I move that we close out the 2025
CDBG.
and that's for 525 million.
Correct. Got a motion by Councilman Steen, a second by Council Lady Philippin to accept the closeout documents on CDBG grant for 2025. Any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Shesty,
Aye.
Councilmember Mason,
Aye.
Councilmember Dean,
Aye.
Councilmember Hicks,
Aye.
Councilmember Bratton, Councilmember Philbin, Councilmember Caldwell.
Motion carries. We'll move on to the public hearing for the 2025 budget amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. I mentioned at the last meeting that we've had this hearing. We've got to amend the 2025 budget. We amend the budget every year because there's a number of expenditures that come up during the course of any fiscal year that municipalities across the state don't typically have the opportunity to, or can't and cannot anticipate. In the general fund, we've had a couple of minor expenses, but the largest expenditures are in the PD and court system. Our officers are active, the court system is busy, and those 2 departments do require some amendment to their budgets, primarily on the court side. The water fund, that fund needs to be amended because our AMI meter purchase, part of those meters, a lot of those meters span into the 2025 budget year when we placed the order in 2024. Incidentally, those meters are 85% installed. We've got about 400 meters left, and then that project will be done. The electric fund, we have a slight increase in the budget for that. I don't anticipate that we're actually going to need that, but it's looking like we're going to be close enough that I prefer to have a little bit of a cushion so we don't have a budget law violation. The industrial promotion fund, that is just to reflect the CDBG dollars that we receive on behalf of the building owner, and then manage those grant dollars on their behalf, and then pay the contractors directly with those grant dollars. And that's what the increase in the industrial promotion fund is for. And then lastly, the golf course. At the last meeting, you approved the early payoff of two of the only two lease purchases that the golf course had, and the issuance of a new lease purchase to make upgrades to the irrigation system. And that is the justification or the reason for the golf course increase, the biggest part of that increase. I would also note that play is about 1,000 rounds higher this year than it was last year. Increased play, increased hours, increased food sales, increased beer sales, all of increased sales tax dollars that we have to remit to the state. All of that drives those costs up as well. And we cannot possibly anticipate how many rounds of golf we're going to sell in August for the following budget year. So with that, I'll answer any questions. If there aren't any questions, I would encourage you to open the public hearing.
Any questions from council for Brett on the budget amendments? Okay, we will open the public hearing at 6:16 for the 2025 budget amendments. Public comment on the budget amendment. It's the second time. If there is any public comment for the 2025 budget amendments. And a third and final ask for public comments on the 2025 budget amendment. There's no public comment. We will close the public hearing on the 2025 budget amendment at 6:17. Entertain a motion to approve the budget amendment.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 3877, amending the 2025 budget.
That's it.
A motion by Councilman Chastain and a second by Councilman Basic to approve ordinance 3877, the 2025 budget amendment. Any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Chastain?
Aye.
Councilmember Mason?
Aye.
Councilmember Dean?
Aye.
Councilmember Dickinson? Or sorry, Councilmember Hennis?
Aye.
Councilmember Bratton?
Yes.
Councilmember Philippin? Yes. Councilmember Caldwell?
Motion carries. We move on to new business item A, resolution 1335, declaration of boundaries.
State law requires that any time a city adds property to its corporate limits, we declare boundaries to the county officials, county clerk, register of deeds, county appraiser. There's a number of individuals that we have to notify. We added property in 2024. We did not do a boundary declaration in 2024 because that property was not only city owned, but also unoccupied. And it was cleaning up some boundary lines. We also added property in 2025. And so we're capturing both the additions in 2024 and in 2025 to declare new boundaries with the county. I referenced the ordinances that included those, and I believe I gave a brief description of what those properties were. It looks like in 2024, it was a small triangular piece of property out by the Hayes House, and then ordinances 3853 and 3854 strips of land adjacent to Tech Air, and then most recently 3871 was a triangular piece of property up on the east side of 169 adjacent to the Northland parcels and Shoot House Paintball.
Questions for Brett on this?
Resolution 1335, Different boundaries of the city of Osawatomie.
Second.
Got a motion by Council Lady Philbin, a second by Councilman Chastain to approve resolution 1335 with the addition of. Any other questions, comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilor Chastain? Councilor Mason?
Aye.
Councilor Dean? Councilor Dickinson? Councilor Hennett?
Aye.
Councilor Bratton? Say that. Councilor Philbin? Aye. Councilor Caldwell? Aye.
Motion carries. We will move on to resolution 1336, recommendation from Memorial.
The Memorial Hall Restoration Committee, we advertised for, request for qualifications on the restoration of Memorial Hall. We received 5. We, evaluated each of the qualification statements, narrowed those down to 3 local contractors, and then, interviewed those 3, and then, are recommending, the committee recommends to the council that we award the contract to Lloyd Builders out of Ottawa. They are the CMAR for the school district and their $20 million project. We would be looking at utilizing a CMAR process on this building as well. And that is the recommendation of the committee.
Let's see, Mark.
Construction management at risk. It's the same model we're using for the water treatment plant.
Oh, okay. I knew I'd heard it, but I remember what.
For clarification, they will give us a do not exceed price on
Correct.
the project before we break ground.
Correct.
How much were the 2 awards from Hawkins? You recall what they were?
Both of them are $50,000.
And then the other hundreds from the fundraiser this year?
We got almost,
Mechanic Foundation.
we almost met our $100,000 effort.
That's what got us to.
And part of that 100,000 was the 50,000 that Hawkins gave us this year.
Okay.
So we ended up, I think, raising almost 80,000 in the community. And then the Miami County Community Foundation, along with the Patterson Foundation, matched that, matched 20% of what we raised.
That's the 200,000 that we'll be using for this project.
And we'll be applying for the Hawkins grant again this spring.
They would start work January.
We are not going to be renting the facility beginning January 1. I believe we've contacted everybody that had already rented it for the initial portion of the year. We're moving then to other locations, or telling them they need to find other locations. And we're offering out of the auditorium. But after January 1, we won't be utilizing this facility. We'll probably still have council meeting here up until the point they actually start, because I don't think he anticipates being able to start until mid to late January, maybe as early as early February. So we'll still continue to have council meetings in here since it's familiar for everybody. But once construction starts, we'll have our meetings in at the Dingle and Sons next to the new Casey's.
That's where court's going to be.
And that's where municipal court will be held beginning January 1st.
And that's big enough for them.
Yes. It's actually more accommodating for a court than this, but for a courtroom than this building is.
I wondered.
Yeah.
Yeah. In this, you said that Lloyd Builders was the best fit for this project.
Yes.
Have they done restoration projects?
They've done multiple restoration projects. Do you remember what all they've done? A lot of their work's been.
The latest one that they've done a couple over in Ottawa. One of them was the post office over there that was restored, but also the big one over there would be the Ottawa Municipal Auditorium. They did that project.
Yeah.
So that's one of the projects as well.
They do really nice work.
Could have been in the auditorium.
I would say when we went out for bid the first time in May of this year, we received no bids. I actually reached out to Lloyd. And they said they weren't interested in the project at that time, but as we continue to work through the year and well, at that time too, they didn't know if the school bond issue was going to pass. Once the bond issue passed and they knew they were going to be over here, then they became more interested since they're going to be over here already anyway.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Brett, on the table motion?
Mayor, I move to approve resolution 1336, recommendation for Memorial Hall restoration.
Got a motion by Councilman Sesteen, a second by Councilman Mason to approve resolution 1336, following the recommendation for Memorial Hall restoration. Any other questions or comments, Brett? Madam Clerk?
Councilor Sheffield,
Aye.
Councilor Mason,
Aye.
Councilor Dean,
Aye.
Councilor Davidson,
Aye.
Councilor Hennis,
Aye.
Councilor Bratton,
Aye.
Councilor Phillips, Councilor Caldwell.
Motion carried. We'll move on to resolution 1337, which is a no action item for a pre-development agreement on the Northland data center.
So this originally, I think when the council packet was initially distributed, it was up for action by the council. We had talked, I had talked to the developer about a fee, a cost to them to lock the two parcels that are in question down, because they do want exclusive access to the 115 or 116 acres for their own development. So obviously we're giving up potential development. That should come at a cost to them, not us. I proposed to them, I did some research, and 3% is kind of the going rate for an option on a piece of property or an exclusive right to develop. So 3% at their rate would have netted the city $90,000 to $100,000. They proposed $10,000 an acre, and it's 115, 116 acres. So I proposed that to them, and they were initially okay with it. Then they came back and said they wanted an initial 6 months of no cost due diligence period, which I'm okay with. I think that's fair to give them an opportunity to at least do some due diligence, evaluate the phase one environmental studies that we've had done, evaluate the geotechnical reports that we've got on the properties and understand what those properties are, and then understand what the market looks like for data centers. I'd be okay with that, but then the second term that they threw in there was they didn't want to have to pay the city that 3% fee unless and until we had another offer on the table, and then they would have the right to beat that offer. And I told them that that's really not the purpose of what you're asking us to do. So I put it back to a no action item, let the council discuss it, maybe think about it. If you don't want to take any action tonight, that's fine. If you do want to take action tonight, that's fine as well. But there's certainly no expectation on the developer's part that we give them a yes or a no. We could turn around and tell them that, yes, you can have an option. We'll give you the paper. It can be your exclusive land to utilize, but it's going to come at this cost. And if you don't want to pay that cost, then the offer is no longer on the table. And that would, if we were going to do anything, that would be my recommendation. Plus the 6 month, due diligence period.
I have an issue with the city about due diligence process.
Yeah.
Do a little bit, we're gonna lock up exclusive rights to it all. That should come at some cost, not waiting for somebody else to get interested so that they can pay.
Well, keep in mind too, we just finished the Interceptor sewer underneath 169. So, most of the development world isn't even aware that Interceptor is there, but it's starting to get out. They're doing a punch list item right now, and there was a pay application on the council packet tonight. There's not a whole lot of money left for them to bill us for. It's mostly retention going forward. I think they've got $50,000 to $80,000 worth of retention left that they need to bill us for. But other than that, I mean, the sewer line is there, ready to use. The only thing we got purchased equipment, because we obviously don't want to start the warranty period on that equipment and have it sit there in the lift stations for a year or 2 years or however long. But yeah, so
Beyond the due diligence, how long do you want?
3 years.
3 years?
So 3 now.
Yeah. They would have, so let's say, for instance, they ended up getting this. There's enough specificity in their offer, in their contract, that makes me think they've already got somebody that they're talking to. Because you don't just start throwing out, hey, it's a $900 million to $1.1 billion, however many hundreds of thousands of 600,000 square foot data center campus. You don't just put that out there and hope that that can find someone with that type of requirements. But so I think they're obviously talking to somebody. If they ended up getting the deal secured with whoever this data center is, they could turn around and say, okay, we want to execute the real estate sales agreement tomorrow, prior to the end of the 6-month due diligence period. And then, we would be off to the races, and there wouldn't be anything contractually that would require them to pay us the 3% per year, because they're still in their due diligence period. Now, if after month 7, they come and say, hey, we want to do the real estate sales deal, then they would still owe us the 3%, but they wouldn't owe us the second or the third 3%. So, and it would be an annual 3% payment they would make.
And that 3%, if they would go towards purchase something from.
I think I had it written in the contract that way. If not, I definitely can talk to them about having it go towards the purchase of the land. Because I think the total ended up being 1.15 or 1.16 million dollars. So $100,000 off of that, it's not
Reading this right, that we would need to provide 1 million gallons per day
correct.
of water.
That's for cooling purposes.
Yeah, that's very cool. And that would not be an issue?
It would be an issue today, but it would not be an issue when the new plant is when the new plant is up and running.
Right.
We would struggle. We would be running 24/7 operations at the water treatment plant. And I think even then we would probably struggle on our peak demand days.
But I don't assume that this would get built out faster than our, not a lot faster than the one.
It's a 2-year construction period on the plant. We're anticipating breaking ground next year, or late 2026. Yeah, I guess it is next year. So confusing. We're towards the end of the year, we're straddling the years. Yeah, so it'd be late next year. We would break ground. So mid 2028. Yeah, mid-summer, late summer 2028, we would be up and running and under the period of KDHE where we're producing water, testing water, and going through the due diligence, the period with KDHE where they're making sure everything is safe to start distributing to the public. That would have a significant impact on rates. That would have a significant impact on amortization of the loan.
Right.
So.
I'd say let's do whatever it takes.
How long, and it's probably in here and I missed it, how long do they anticipate that it'll, take to build a center? Is that the 3 years?
They do not have a construction schedule in their agreement. They just have a 3-year term that they would have sole and exclusive access right to develop the land.
And you're staying basically 3.5, because it was 6 before that, 3 and 4 started. So, wouldn't be ideal, but it could be 42 months before you lock it down and start the process.
So if we're talking about this, we're past the 50% of what's going to happen. Last time it was 50-50.
I'm sorry.
It was 50-50, now it's probably a little higher than it will.
Oh, I don't know that I would say the chances of it happening have gotten better or more favorable towards it happening, but that they haven't gotten any less.
So how many acres of the Northland would not be included in this? Because 120 acres still that other things we could potentially.
There's the 80. So if you go east of 169 and you're on 343rd, it's the 80-ish acres that is on the north side of 343rd where we started the 18-inch Interceptor sewer. And then there's the portion that's not been transferred to Shoot House Paintball, which is, basically a massive boulder that they're sitting on top of. We retained the commercial property along 343rd Street on the south side. I don't recall how many acres are in there. There was 12 that we transferred to Shoot House. So I want to say there's probably 20 to 30 acres on the south side that have not been encumbered.
I think that was 33 to start.
Yeah. And then the last parcel is the parcel with solar array, and it is probably 60% covered maybe with the solar panels. Evergy is in the process of carving out the land that's not being utilized to return back to the city so we can utilize for housing if we wanted to do that. So.
And we would still, market if that's available during this time
If it's contractually obligated to a sole party and then they have exclusive use of it, I would not market it to anybody. I would not be putting it in with the Department of Commerce, which we get periodically and we respond to those. But I would not be responding and offering up those parcels if they're tied up under a exclusive use contract.
Were they did set on 3 years?
No, not necessarily. I don't think. So what I've heard is there's interest in the part of the council to offer the 6-month no cost due diligence period, but not necessarily we still want exclusive rights, but we don't want to pay you unless someone else comes forth.
Let's see. No, I mean, that money should definitely go to the payroll. Money should buy the property. I don't know. You were talking, I think you have to with that.
That's the way I look at it.
It's definitely make sure that it is included in the contract, but it's not already included.
Like you said, we've just made a large step in making that property market to lock it down for 3 years for nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make that much sense.
Yeah.
Down for 3 years for 300,000. Still rather see it be getting used than years ago.
Yeah, except in the 3.5 years, she's saying, no, we don't do it.
Right, and they're not doing anything. Locked down for 3.5 years.
Yeah, I agree. Well, if that's the case, I will go back to them tomorrow. I will get the contract language finalized and have our city attorney take one last look at it. And then tell them that this was the council's best and final and see what they say.
I think it's over 6 months when we get it. Whatever money, we sort of tie into it, but I don't think we should just get it much more than.
We'll definitely want whatever the due diligence, no cost due diligence period is, we'll want that defined in the contract. So it's very clear. We wouldn't want to have it say 6 months and then end up saying, okay, you can have it for 7 months.
I think you got everything you need on that.
I did.
It looks like we have a couple of executive sessions today. First, I move that the city council recesses into closed executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters and following personnel pursuant to the exception in KSA 75-4319B1. Closed meeting will last 10 minutes. And we'll resume here from Warren Hall at 6:50 p.m. Second. Got a motion by Councilman Dickinson and a second by Councilman Dennis to go into executive session less than 50 minutes and return at 6:50 p.m. All in favor, aye. Aye. Motion carries. It's got the audio. Got it. So we will enter back into open session with no action taken. Mr. Mayor, I move that the city council close executive session for discussing personnel matters and non-elected responsibility, except in the case of 75-4191. Those meeting will last 10 minutes. I'll resume here Memorial Hall at 6:52. What, there's 7:02 p.m. Also attending with the city manager, but Brett. Got a motion, do we have a second? Second. Got a motion by Councilman Dixon, second by Councilman Bratton to move into executive session to include the city manager for 10 minutes and resume at 7:02. All in favor? Aye. Well, executive session with no action taken. Mayor, move city council president, one of the executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters and non-elected personnel. So, exception in case 75-4191. Those meetings will last 10 minutes. I'll resume here from Memorial Hall at 7:14. 7:14 p.m. Attending with the city manager, Brett Lindenning. Second. Got a motion by Councilman Dixon, a second by Councilman Chastain. Enter back into executive session. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We'll come out of executive session and go back into open meeting with no action taken. So. So executive session, we come out and consider resolution 1338 amending city manager's contract.
Mayor, I move we approve 1338, resolution 1338, approving benefit of the development agreement with the city manager by a vote required for termination in order to make employee with or without cause, a 2/3 majority of the governing body shall be required.
Got a motion by Councilman Bratton and a second by Councilor Lady Caldwell to approve resolution 1338, a resolution approving an amendment to the employee agreement with the city manager. Does it also need to include the do that separate motion? Could be better. I would do it separately. Okay. So, any other questions or comments from council on that? Madam Clerk?
Councilor Chastain?
Aye.
Councilor Mason?
Aye.
Councilor Dean?
Aye.
Councilor Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilor Hennis?
Aye.
Councilor Bratton?
Aye.
Councilor Phillips? Aye. Councilor Paul?
Aye.
Motion carries. It's not a resolution.
No, just a motion, vote.
Mayor Hanson, I move to raise salary for the city manager 5% for the next budget. Is that right?
Got a motion by Councilman Bratton, second by Councilman Chastain to approve a 5% increase to city manager's salary in this upcoming year. Is there any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk? That's it. Right. Dale made it. Kevin seconded it.
Sorry, I missed it.
Right.
Councilor Sheffield?
Aye.
Councilor Mason?
Aye.
Councilor Dean?
Aye.
Councilor Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilor Hennis?
Aye.
Councilor Bratton?
Aye.
Councilor Phillips? Aye. Councilor Caldwell? Aye.
Motion carried. We move on to council report. We'll start with my left. Chastain.
I would say it's a good friend Santa Claus over the week. They had a good time turning down over the weekend and, but it was a cool fair right with the, marriage lighting, tree lighting and everything and all the events. So it was nice to kind of come along last weekend. So good job to all the crews and everything for making town look great and, job. No report.
I attended marriage line. There were a few of them. Good to see you, some activity downtown. Sorry, I missed it. I had a wife's birthday party, big 30, so I couldn't make the mayor. There's some street items, everything was good. I heard the downtown looks nice, so good job with that. Thank you.
I was meeting was no good, so. And one citizen asked about Anna January Park. When's it gonna be open again?
So we have to put rubber mulch in around that playground, otherwise it's not covered by insurance. And it's a fall hazard. And we need at least 6-inch depth across the whole thing. Ask for a couple. Well, couple quotes. We're waiting on.
Okay. She said it was like 6 months, so I'm just passing on.
It's not been that long.
And she runs the daycare and they
I know, but, no, it's not.
and I give her a call back on her. I'll give her a time frame, month, 2 months.
Within the first quarter of the year, we should have that.
Add one more. One citizen complained, why isn't there a Christmas lights put up on 6th Street? And I said, well, what you're looking at is what you're gonna get, it's a wreath on top of the lanes, which it might seem very nice. And they wanted to have it, so. One of those, I don't know what to do.
We'll go sit up and let's see him right. Correct.
Well, we really don't have them down Main Street either.
They're just sitting
I'm not been.
That's right, we really, I'm thinking that we really don't have them down Main Street either.
We're gonna push that part of the thing.
Yeah, we discussed that. We made the option to make our light poles match.
I think it's fine.
I was also with Terrace tree lighting, I think that's the first one I've been to. Only because I had to go to the hospital for the name and made sure that I was there to do the gender, whatever was held like that, just making sure that doing our due diligence and show up for those community events and make myself seen as important. It was a lot of fun. I really liked it. Enjoyed that. The cabin future by that. Now they've gotten the lights around around windows, which really looks nice. Trees, batteries, and then there are trees all lit up. So it looks really good down there. So. Thank you for all the things that you do down there through the year. And helping make that look.
I'm a little disappointed that the big beautiful chair didn't have any lights on it, but we'll work on it next year. Big folding chair. We'll work on it next year.
I had a conversation with, Vincent, Porter on the chicken situation. I'd like for you to keep kind of an open mind on this. I went down and visited his coop, which is, well taken care of. His 10 chickens are very healthy and have a really great, really are content animals, really. I think they're spoiled, but, so one of the things that we talked about last time was the ordinances of the 5 chickens. I talked to Brett about this too, and he shared with me that he had no idea that he had chickens, let alone that he had that many. I also went to, I also had Brett talk with Teresa, give me some information on the 5 years that we've had the ordinance in place. That would have been in 2020s when we started that. We've had, because I wanted to see if there was any issues that we were having with the chicken ordinance or with the residents and the chickens. We have 5 permits. The offenses that they've had in the past was 11, they found with no permits. So many of those got rid of their chickens because they didn't want to pay the permit fee. One, because they had an insufficient coop. And one because they had ducks, and ducks are not allowed. One because they have a rooster. That's the problem. The only issues that have been in the last 5 years. So it's very minimal. I would like for us to give Brett the go ahead to look at what we would need to do to increase the number of chickens to the 10. Because you also have to look at the size of the coop. And of course, there's some backyards that would not be able to have the 10. Because I think that we need to look seriously at what the residents are needing and what they would like to have. And this is something that is very important to Vincent. If I walk down there and that coop has been in bad shape, and his chickens were not healthy, I'd say no way. But he has a coop that's big enough for the 10. He has taken very good care of his chickens. And I think that we should give the benefit of the doubt to look at maybe temporarily changing our ordinances, and I'm not sure if we could do that, but to give him an opportunity to attend that he has.
Has he permitted those yet? Has he paid his permit for that?
Has applied for it, but it won't issue it because he's over the limit.
Okay.
Did we actually have 13?
Yes.
He's very willing to pay more than
So, yeah.
what the 5. So if you had like a permit for 5, then, or this is what you would pay for 5, this is what you would pay for above 5, to 10 or that. He would be willing to pay that higher amount.
Yeah,
Yes, I would love for you.
Vincent called me today, we played phone tag a little bit this morning, but I explained to him that, it's not the city manager's call, setting policies, the council's responsibility, enforcing policy. is the manager's responsibility. That's my suggestion to him, that he reach out to one of his council members and make this request. And so that's what Kathy's doing, is asking for either consensus or a motion to direct me to draft an ordinance increasing the number of allowable chickens. And then if the council in a majority wants me to do that, then I will go do that. But if the council does not, then I told Vincent I would call him either way tomorrow morning and let him know what the council's direction to the city manager was. That's what.
So how many chicken farms do we have? 5?
Five per minute. 5 per minute. Now, there's some, like Teresa said, there's some that she hasn't found yet.
Right.
Because all of the offenses that they found with no permits was because they were looking at other things, like,
She never went there directly for the chicken problem.
unless somebody called.
Right.
She said.
She's
that-
done it.
Yeah, she said that over the time period, no one has complained about chickens.
Do we leave the policy the same where you still have to get your neighbor's approval?
Yes.
Both sides and directly behind? What was it?
Anywhere,
Everybody on the block?
The people that share
I
property.
think it's,
Yes.
joining.
I don't agree with, I think it's on both sides.
It's just,
Anywhere in the street.
Whatever's,
If you have a direct neighbor behind, I think that would be,
whatever's touching your mail.
yeah, anything that, to me, anything
But
that
your property goes to center down, so the person behind you, the property comes to center down too, is behind. Yeah, the side behind.
It's just,
right now, it's just the sides, if I remember the way.
no, it's anything that touches, joins.
in the,
Yeah, but if it's separated by now, you don't have to jump for housing and your neighbors.
right, because you have that separation. And he has, some permission, sign the affidavits or whatever it is that need to be.
45, 20 there.
It's one feet per so many.
He's wanting to change it up, or you're wanting to change it up to 10, or to cover his, you gotta go to 30.
No, he said, I remember talking, he said he would get
You
rid
don't
of
like 3 of them?
Yeah, he said he'd like to keep 10. And I think going above that would start messing with your whole backyard and have to be, again.
What if the neighbor's planning permission and then 6 months later, the person's not doing it? And then you're out in the fence and doing it, and the neighbor gets to retract their permission.
I think so.
Oh, they have
Really wants to, right?
They can.
There are all backs in.
do they have?
If they say.
Secondly, no, somebody's abusing their deal to the neighbors. Is there anything in that ordinance right now where you could pull that permit?
Mhm.
I guess it's a once a year permit, and the permission can be,
That would be, could be, I mean, there has to be a deal that they're using it, which is why I'm saying, you know, if you're gonna sit there and give them a permit. And that's like, kind of like when you're saying, you initially, hey, yeah, I'm not fine if you have them, but then when you give them either or they get more than they bargained for the neighbor, that neighbor's gotta have a way to kind of like, hey, I'm not in agreement with this anymore.
They should be able to put in a complaint and then go through the process, and I'm sure that process,
We have something for tons of their.
Just treat it like normal violation. That's all.
yeah.
We go up and we do it per chicken, or do we go and build this like a 5 and a 10? I mean, it sounds crazy, but.
I think it's clear just saying,
it's 10.
just saying 5 is this and 10
10 is that, you're up to 10 is even.
I mean, from the code perspective, I just take the code and I would add a section, it sounds like maybe he's going to pay more, I put the line item in the code that, you have 5 up to 10, but once you go over 5, it's X amount of dollars. And I think I would just suggest making a motion, and then if there's a second, and then the council votes in favor to have you do that.
So what would your increase in chicken population be? Or double?
Oh, I
think you're gonna get Vincent, then
He said that he would not be upset at all if he had to pay 350.
My
It
question
would
is,
be like 100 more than what they're paying.
you just bump the chicken permit up to 10. That way you're not trying to figure out if they got 5 or 10 and the neighbor call and say, well, they got 7 or now. Just go to 10.
Yeah.
I think that would be the way to do it.
Yeah.
And then just, how much did you say it is for chicken permit?
250,
I don't know, SB 50 for their 50.
the original. It was
Because we do only insure them.
the cost.
There is. There we go.
It's not due to, increase the chicken population to 10 per resident.
Second.
We've got a motion by Councilman Brennan, a second by Council Lady Caldwell to increase the chicken allowance to 10 chickens per residence, following all the same ordinances that were already in place, and increasing the permit fee
Leave it all the same.
or leave it the same.
Leave it the same.
Leave it the same. 10 chickens for 250. Free.
One of the things is, if you have that many chickens, there is also a coop size that goes along with a larger group of chickens.
Okay.
We'll look for
Size.
Matt. Yeah.
Chickens you have.
Coop size must accommodate for chicken.
And yard size.
And yard size,
Yes.
then there's starting to be everything
Well, it's more about the coop size, because you can't put it in if you don't have that big enough.
We got a motion on the table. Madam Clerk.
Councilor Sheffield,
Aye.
Councilor Mason,
Aye.
Councilor Dean,
Aye.
Councilor Dickinson, Councilor Hennis,
No.
Councilor Breton,
Aye.
Councilor Tobin. Aye. Councilor Caldwell.
Motion carries.
Just so you guys vote on that all over again when I bring the ordinance.
Yes.
And that's fine.
Mayor report, Christmas party Saturday, 6 o'clock counts. Hopefully everybody can make it.
Where are you going?
Christmas lights do look nice.
Yes.
I've had a couple compliments on them. So we appreciate everybody's work on that. I felt like the turnout was fairly good at the lighting. We definitely had less there than we had this time, so it was definitely good. I think that's all I got. Definitely.
Real quick, I've already mentioned court moves effective January 1st through the end of April, will be held at 6:05 p.m. 5th Street Terrace on Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. We're going to be walkthrough with Killough Construction as well as the home builder to identify any issues with the pad-ready sites and the infrastructure that has been installed. And identify a creative punch list. Evaluations for all city employees have started, including department heads, beginning tomorrow with the individual overly qualified deputy city manager to my left. The reconnaissance survey, I checked with Chad Tenpenny. Chad Tenpenny gave me an update that the reconnaissance survey is still working its way through reviews and approvals at the National Park Service. The shutdown slowed down that process, but my understanding is the report has been completed and it's in the process of being reviewed. The last thing I have, I'm going to pass this around. I don't know if any of you remember a couple of years ago when the county received a grant for Placer AI to help pay for that. The Placer AI has done a demo for me. The software is pretty impressive what it can do. I asked them to provide me with data for September 27th and September 28th, down at the trailhead in Osawatomie, for the Ultrapalooza, the Ultra Marathon, that was ran by Midwest Endurance Run Company. It shows on the first sheet, on the top half of the first sheet, it shows the number of visitors, and that number is north of 400 on September 27th. September 28th, the last day of the race, you can see where it's dropped down to, about 100. The software will also give you, the percentages of people that visited the area that you geo-fence the area you're interested in. So he drew a fence around the trailhead, and then identified the zip codes where those people came from. There's a map, you can see that in the bottom half, and then probably one of the more interesting features you can see on the back side is it shows where the individual stopped prior to their travel to the area that we geofenced, which was the trailhead. And then it shows where they went afterwards. From an economic development perspective, this tool is pretty powerful. It can help identify, for instance, when we have a golf tournament, if people are going to, say, a Mexican restaurant in Paola, after a tournament, we can market or encourage La Hacienda to market to the golfers at Osawatomie and bring them into Osawatomie instead of them going to Paola. The cost for this software for 1 year is $8,000, and I understand that is well within my purchasing authority. The county had it. The county, there was some controversy around it. Some of the county commissioners thought it was too big brotherish. Now I will tell you, I cannot draw a geofence around your house, that there's not sufficient data. It will not allow you to try to track individual cell phone numbers. I've not identified individuals in any of this data. But I wanted to give this to the council to show you what the capabilities of this software was, and then just ask you to think about what all we could use it for. I can see us using it for the Jamboree, lights on the lake, every single golf tournament. I could see us using it quite regularly just to see where we're pulling people from at the golf course, where we're pulling people from for our signature events like on the lake, John Brown Jamboree, the Freedom Festival. We could track on the late Memorial Day or Labor Day weekend. We can see where people are coming from, to the cemeteries, to the park, the cabin, all kinds of things. I mean, the possibilities are virtually endless. So I guess I would look to see that the council, would there be an objection to us trying this for a year to see how much data we can glean from it and how effectively we can use it? Is that something the council would be interested in seeing?
Why do they have the green?
Cellular companies.
Okay, so when you put a geofence around it, it's non-technical in here for sure. You put a geofence around something, then anything that goes into that area, that would be where you get the info.
You have to define time period, and then you define the area, and it will tell you every single, it will tell you the number of cellular devices that were in that geofence within that time frame, and it will tell you where those cell phones were prior to and after.
How far in advance prior or after will tell you this?
That would all be questions that I would want to ask them, like how long can you set that time frame up? I mean, obviously, there's got to be some sort of parameters, because eventually there's got to be enough data there for it to grab it. So you keep so it's software can actually aggregate the data. It will not provide you with data once it gets below a certain number, because it's either it does not function at that level, or B, you've got too few cellular devices that could then become trackable and potentially identify them to individuals, which was the concern.
So like on this one where it shows where they were at, I'm assuming that's the last place they were just prior to arriving inside the geofence and the first stop after it, correct?
And you have to be at a location for a certain amount of time. It's not going to say, oh,
They cruised.
Yeah, it doesn't take that.
Well, I can see, I can see where people would consider this big brother, but the information is there. And I think if the information is there, we should at least, try it out, and I think this would be an excellent tool for us to to see, and just like you said, for marketing purposes, to see what's actually working and what's not working, and maybe tweak events. There's so much use with this information. And I think that could be a great tool to try out.
I think this track is other than for events, like somebody comes from Harrington to walk from Osawatomie to Harrington, for that don't happen.
That would probably be that would be too small of a data set. I mean, you gotta have,
You don't do the cabin,
huh?
you don't do the cabin,
Like, we would do the cabin.
but you can't do it permanent.
I would have to expand it to like the whole park. I could do the high school right now and see how many people are in that high school and see where they came from. And depending on, I would imagine 60 to 70% of the people there are from right here, and then the remaining percentage are from whoever looks like. So,
Is it Pleasanton tonight?
But if they just drove up 11th Street, that wouldn't be out.
The regular stop period, like 5 minutes or something, it's easier.
it would have to be, I would find that out, how long someone had to stay for it to actually pick them up and walk them. But it would have to be,
But you can't just geofence the park for the cabin for the year.
I think it'd be too sparse.
I would ask them, I mean,
Or you could pick
if you
up.
get enough people over the course of the year, if I could geofence it for a year, then yes, over the course of a year, there would be enough population in there to tell us, because we see what the reports are.
Right.
I mean, it's just,
Probably not walking way down, because kids probably walk to it to get to school.
But like you said, they got to be there for not
And
only.
just walking around, have to kill.
a lot of questions I don't have the details to, but I will get them.
I think you could read down.
Is this something that we're interested in?
I think so. I think it would
It'd
match.
be very interesting to see.
We
You
can
like the motion?
try to make
To
notes.
answer my question about where did they go once they're here?
Right.
Looks like they're going to Casey's and they're going to Casey's when they leave and when they come, so.
So
That's
there's
my option.
in having,
They're getting correct. That's all I have.
Okay.
Michelle?
I think you'd be on trail.
If you didn't notice, the extensions on Main Street Fox Corner,
Yay,
Thank goodness. And
next week, asphalt will go in.
yay.
We're gonna have an asphalt, basically the entire thing, and it'll come back, so connect to the bigger person. That way they can asphalt, and asphalt here, they don't have to have us set up and put in curves, in, all that. And that's supposed to happen Monday or Tuesday, eventually Wednesday night. Brett was pulled Monday, and then today I was pulled Tuesday or Wednesday.
I was going to do their race as well. I was working with the other project.
Yeah, so while they're here doing that, I'm also be doing other miscellaneous projects that just need asphalt as well. They're basically, my understanding is turning the plant on for us. So we will also be grabbing some additional asphalt. We did this week because they have the plant on. We're able next week.
Where else do we have to have?
After our own system.
We've got a couple utility poles, and then I like to use the hot links for modules, especially if they're larger. They just get better.
Hold up.
Yep, so that's why we're gonna.
That's it. We'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Got a motion by Councilman Sheffield, a second by Councilman Bratton for adjournment. All in favor, aye.